Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. Last week, if you can't tell already, I was in a slider mood, so we had 3 different slider recipes, all of which were absolutely delicious, very easy to do, so I think you're going to enjoy them. But let's go ahead and get started and I will show you how to make them. To begin, of course, you cannot have a week of sliders without buffalo chicken sliders, so that's what we're starting with today. To begin, I'm just preheating my oven to 400 degrees, and then onto my baking sheet I am just adding 4 of these chicken strips. I'm not sure if the 400 degrees matches the directions on the bag, but that's the temperature I'm using for the sliders, so I just went ahead and cooked these 4 chicken strips at that temperature as well. You will need 1 chicken strip per 2 sliders, and for this recipe I'm making 8 sliders. These are the slider buns I'm using. You can get them at Walmart. They do come in a pack of 12, but I'm actually only going to make 8 for us. I bought 2 packages of these buns and I am making 8 for each recipe, so 2 packages was plenty for us. Next, I'm just going to take a little bit of romaine lettuce and chop that up. You can chop up as much as you want. For me, I didn't chop up too much because my husband is not huge on the lettuce on his, so I was only going to be putting those on mine. As soon as your chicken strips are done, go ahead and add them into a bowl and cover them with your favorite buffalo sauce. I'm using the Buffalo Wild Wings one, and I believe this one is a medium heat. Add the lid and then shake those up until they are all covered. Add them onto your sliders, and then over top of the chicken you will just add on some ranch dressing. Add the buns on top, and then I'm actually just going to stick these in the oven for about 10 minutes. Don't mind that slider that's upside down there on the end. This is just going to toast up the buns a little bit and kind of warm up the ranch dressing a little bit. And then after that, you can go ahead and top it with the lettuce if you desire to do so. On this night, we just had some tater tots to go along with it, but overall these turned out so good. Very easy to make, of course. If you want there to be more buffalo sauce, you can also drizzle that over the top with the ranch. That's fine as well. For me, I didn't want them to be too messy, so this was perfect. Next up, we're going to make these jalapeno onion and cheese sliders, and let me tell you, these were my favorite of the week. They were amazing. To begin, just preheat your oven to 375 degrees. Now into the skillet here, I'm adding about a tablespoon of avocado oil and a tablespoon of butter. I sliced up 1 whole onion and added that into there once it was nice and hot. I'm just going to sprinkle them with a touch of salt and pepper and let these cook until I'm done with everything else. Hopefully you get to cook them at least about a half an hour. Now into the skillet here in the front, I'm adding in 1 pound of ground beef. Mine was still a little frozen, but that's okay, it'll still cook all the same. I'm also just going to go ahead and season this now with about half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Of course, you can change those seasonings or adjust them however you like. Let this ground beef cook up, and then once it's done, if any grease needs to be drained off, go ahead and do that. Mine was a lean ground beef, so I actually did not need to do that. But once the ground beef is done, you will just go ahead and add it straight to your slider buns. Again, I'm only using 8. This recipe does make enough for 12 sliders though, so if you decide to use the entire package, you totally can do that. Just try to make sure that the ground beef is even over top of all the buns. Over top of the ground beef, you will add some jalapenos. You can use fresh if you want to, but I like to use the jarred kind, that way they're not quite as crunchy. Add as much as you like on there, and then over top of that, your onions should be good by now. Go ahead and add those on top next. If someone in your family or your kids do not like jalapenos or onions, it's very easy to keep these off a couple of these sliders and just have basic cheeseburger sliders. So just make sure you keep that in mind. You can change these however you need to. Next, you will just add some cheese. I'm using some American cheese because I think it pairs so good on cheeseburgers and it pairs really well on here as well. So I went ahead and just took about 4 slices and covered all my sliders with those, added the buns on top, and then these went in the oven to bake for about 10 to 15 minutes until the cheese was melty. Here's what they looked like coming out of my oven. As you can see, they were nice and toasty. American cheese always does melt weird, so it doesn't look fully melted, but it was melted once I broke them up. You could tell here a little bit more. Like I said, these were my favorite of the week. They were just so flavorful. I love that spiciness about them, and the American cheese honestly really made these. On the side, we just had some French fries to go along with it, keeping it nice and easy. And last but not least, we are making some crispy fish fillet sliders. To begin, you will need to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. And now over onto my baking sheet, I am just going to go ahead and add about 7 of these little fish fillets. They will shrink a little bit in the oven, so I did cook a couple extra. I was hoping one would fit for 2 sliders like the chicken strips, but since they like to shrink, I went ahead and added a few extra. Now we're actually going to go ahead and make a homemade tartar sauce. You can always use store-bought if you prefer. A little less than a half cup of mayonnaise, 1/4 cup of sweet relish, 1/4 tablespoon of dill, and then 1/2 tablespoon of lemon juice. Go ahead and get this mixed together and then set it aside for right now. This is not something that is necessary, it's just something that I personally like to do. These little fish fillets are so greasy in my opinion, so I like to add them to a paper towel and just kind of blot them off a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but too much grease bothers me, and also I just really don't like when there's a lot of grease in my food. So once I did that, I started adding them to my slider buns, again using 8 buns. And as you can see, they cover a little bit more than 1 slider, so I added those and then just used a couple smaller pieces to fill in the gaps. For the cheese, I added American cheese. I just used 1 slice per 2 sliders and broke it in half so it fit a little bit better. Those went into the oven to bake for about 10 minutes, and then this is what they looked like when they were all done. On this night, we did French fries again, and I just had some ketchup on the side there for my French fries, not for the fish sliders. Again, these were another very easy and simple recipe. As you can see, I actually did not put any of the tartar sauce on mine. I'm not huge on tartar sauce. I should have showed you my husband's, but I didn't even think about it. But once those come out of the oven, you can go ahead and add that tartar sauce on, and they're good to go. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, don't forget to leave your flower down in the comments below to let me know that you did. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you back on here Wednesday with a new video. Bye guys!